friends, and welcome to Sustainable Prepping, your home for fear-free emergency preparedness and a sustainable life. My name is Brecky, and today we are talking about the one conspiracy theory I actually believe. If you're new here, I want to say a great big welcome. The channel has been growing. I'm glad you found our slice of the internet. If you're not new, welcome back. I'm so glad you're joining us yet again. So if you are in the emergency preparedness community, or if you are dipping your toe into emergency preparedness, you might notice that conspiracy theories make up a ton of the content that's out there. Now, there's a lot of reasons for why this is. One of the reasons is that content that is all full of conspiracy theories is very good for clickbait. It gets a lot of views because people get really riled up when it comes to conspiracies. But some of these conspiracies are super off the wall. The elite are really lizard people in human meat suits, or there's a whole new world order that's going to take over everything, or the elites are planning a great reset, or there are chemtrails that are left behind jetliners. You name it, there's a conspiracy for it. Most conspiracy theories are just illogical, and they're based out of a place of fear, or they're deeply rooted in classism or racism. They basically are playing on the concerns that we have as individuals. I think one of the reasons why conspiracy theories are so popular is because they play on our emotions. It's really easy to get emotionally charged if you think that there's a cabal of rich people behind the scenes creating a shadow government that's going to overthrow everything and take your 1 acre of land in the Ozarks and oppress you, right? It's very easy to manipulate emotions with these kinds of outlandish conspiracies. It's a lot easier also to blame all of our ills on some shadow figure out there in the great beyond that's a puppet master pulling all the strings than to take responsibility for the ways in which our world looks like it does because of our actions. This might be a hard pill to swallow because so many people in the emergency preparedness community are all about self-reliance, but the truth is the biggest non-conspiracy that we're facing is global climate change, and lots of people in emergency preparedness don't believe in global climate change. So you see human actions having real consequences, and it's easier to blame some kind of shadow group than to take human responsibility and thus change your lifestyle. So I think conspiracies are popular because they make us feel afraid, they make us feel emotions, they make us feel something, and they take the onus of responsibility off of our actions and the people that we elect into government and so on and so forth, and place them on some unknown figure or figures manipulating the environment. Like really lizard people in meat suits, that is just, why? Why do people believe that? I don't get it. Now, a lot of conspiracy theories, like I said, are based on our emotional responses and our feelings around race, culture, class, all of these elements that make us concerned, that hit us in the emotional space, the sort of limbic system, rather than our more intellectual minds. They play on those fears and those concerns. For example, all of the language around being afraid of a new world order comes out of a super anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish movement that predates World War II. It's called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and this tract was sent around and basically stated that there was a Jewish cabal of people pulling all the strings, manipulating the government, and they ate babies, and they were just terrible. And it was this conspiracy theory that helped to fuel the murder of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. That same kind of conspiracy is at play when you hear things about the New World Order or the Great Reset. Those things come out of an anti-Jewish background. They also come out of the class struggle and this push against working class folks and elites, and not seeing the elites as people and having way too much power and so on and so forth. But it also comes out of anti-Semitism. We have to be really careful when we're talking about conspiracy theories because a lot of them are rooted in a pro-white nationalist identity that others communities, and they have really detrimental effects, like the Holocaust. So one of the other reasons I don't believe in conspiracies, and the majority of conspiracy theories that are out there I think are totally bunk, is because, hi, have you met humans? Have you seen people who run government? Have you seen people who run businesses? Most people are people, and they're dumb and they make stupid mistakes. I have yet to see a group of people who can effectively get along to get anything accomplished. So the idea that behind all of our ineffectual governments, we all complain about the US government, we all complain about how ineffectual it is, whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, somehow we can imagine that behind our ineffectual government is a secret shadow government that somehow is 1,000% more effective. No, human beings don't work that way. And besides, nobody likes to keep a secret. I mean, even the guy who was Deep Throat couldn't handle going to the grave without announcing who he was, Fred Phelps, right? So I think that whenever we talk about conspiracies, we have to remember that human beings are human beings, and we essentially are bad at keeping secrets and we're bad at being organized. I just can't buy into this belief that there is any shadow government that can possibly be effective on an international level. Do I think that there are manipulating groups that use their power and influence to manipulate human governments? Absolutely. I think that happens all the time. But I think those are much likely to come from the corporate sector and not from the government sector. Okay, so I don't believe in most conspiracy theories, particularly the conspiracy theories that most emergency preparedness people buy into. However, I do believe in one conspiracy theory, and I think it's pretty legitimate. And that is that I believe we have had a serious campaign of misinformation planned and planted by Russia and possibly China to destabilize the United States and primarily the Western world, particularly in our elections and now with COVID. I believe that the misinformation around the vaccine and the vaccine safety is absolutely coming from Russia. It's absolutely not based in science, and it's absolutely designed to create fear, panic, and division in the United States. If the United States is divided and infighting, we are not capable of better repelling outside influence or outside aggressors. If the United States has an ongoing public health pandemic, which is oversaturating our hospitals and taxing our entire healthcare system, it means that we are vulnerable not just to more illnesses, but we're vulnerable to biological and chemical attacks. If the United States is busy spending billions of dollars dealing with this political infighting, dealing with homegrown terrorists, dealing with all of this division, then we are not going to be capable of banding together, of uniting and expelling any outside foreign influences or attackers. We're just not going to be able to do it. And so therefore, I believe with my whole entire being that all of this division, this political division we're seeing in the United States, and all of this anti-vax information that's coming out in the United States, I think it's coming from Russia. I don't think there's actually this much political division. I think it's absolutely being fueled by Russian money and Russian influence. And I absolutely believe that it is designed by Russia and possibly China to destabilize the US so that we no longer remain a superpower. We are currently the only global superpower after the fall of the USSR, and that pisses people off. So what better way to sink the United States, at least as a global superpower, than to continue destabilizing us from the inside out and to overwhelm our healthcare system by continuing to have a pandemic that will rage for years because of misinformation around vaccines. Not to mention that the use of Christian language and imagery is fueling this. It's creating this insider versus outsider. I am not going to have the mark of the beast, which is supposed to be on your forehead, not on your shoulder, by the way. I am not going to be vaccinated because I love Jesus, which Jesus gave away free healthcare, so I don't understand. I don't get it. It comes out of a desire to destabilize the US, to keep us in a perpetual public health situation where we can't respond to any kind of outside threats. We can't even respond to inside threats that I also think are being funded and fueled by Russia primarily. I want to point out and say, I say Russia, but what I really mean is the Russian government. Individual Russians may feel warmly or coldly towards the US, just like individual Americans might feel warmly or coldly towards Russia. The point is that Vladimir Putin's government, which is primarily made up of former KGB folks, doesn't like America, and America doesn't like them. Mostly. We mostly don't like them. Some of us do, I guess, which is also terrifying. This is the only conspiracy that I really believe and I put any stock in, because I think we've seen a consistent pattern of infiltration into our politics, right? We know that both the Democrats and the Republicans had their headquarters hacked by Russians. We know that there has been a campaign of misinformation around politics online from Russian bots. We know that that probably also extends to vaccine information. Whether or not you're for a vaccine or against the vaccine, the point is that you are receiving information not from scientific sources, and you're receiving it from a source or multiple sources that are designed to destabilize both the United States and the West globally. If these democratic countries can have infighting and be destabilized, it allows countries that aren't democratic to fill the gaps internationally in global trade, in global leadership, in global commerce. All of that becomes filled with countries that are perhaps not as friendly to the West. At the end of the day, one of the biggest fears that I have as someone in the emergency preparedness community is that this global misinformation campaign against the United States is going to destabilize us into civil unrest, and it's going to make us vulnerable. If we continue to have a public health crisis like we have, we will not be able to respond to a biological or chemical attack. It's not possible. We don't have the resources. We already don't have the resources to respond to COVID. Imagine what a tiny biological or chemical attack could do. It would completely shut us down. That's what scares me, and that's the conspiracy, the one conspiracy that I put stock into. Aside from the fact that I think that Kennedy and MLK were an inside job, those are conspiracies I believe in, but those aren't really relevant to prepping. Friends, I'm curious. Do you have conspiracy theories that you believe in? What do you believe? Do you believe in a New World Order conspiracy theory, the Great Reset? Do you believe in lizard people in meat suits? I'm curious if you have conspiracy theories you buy into, and whether or not you buy into the Russians misinformation campaign conspiracy that I believe in. Definitely comment down below and let me know. If you have liked this video, I would love it if you gave it a great big thumbs up, and if you subscribe to this channel. This helps me reach more people with a fear-free approach to emergency preparedness. Also, if you found this useful or interesting or entertaining, because who doesn't love a good conspiracy theory, I would love it if you would share this on social media or send it to some friends who would enjoy it. This helps me, again, spread the word. You can find me on Instagram or find our group over on Facebook. Everything is linked down in the description. Hope you're all doing well, and until the next video, happy prepping.